Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of Teed Up. I'm David.
I'm Justin.
As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Hope everyone's doing well with the current situation. Hope everyone's staying safe. Justin, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Just a little bored here, but making it through.
Feel that.
How are you?
I'm good. Weather's getting nicer, so that's something.
Yeah, it's nice to be outside every once in a while,
I'm
enjoying the sunlight.
I'm playing a lot of basketball outside now that the weather's getting nicer.
Yeah, it's nice to be outside.
Definitely. And my favorite shirts to wear when I'm playing basketball outside is shirts from our nice brand called Basketball Empire. Basketball Empire, they have the best gear to wear on the court, on and off the court. They have great quality T-shirts, hoodies, hats, phone cases, and backpacks that are perfect for any basketball player or fan out there. So make sure you go check them out. And when you check out of their website, make sure you use our code TEEDUP30 to get 30% off your order. That is TDUP30. So we'll put the link in the description for that. But what we wanted to get into first is, we were kind of reminiscing about the old Golden State Warriors team before KD left, that super team that everyone said ruined the league and things like that. And we were kind of talking off camera about, who was the most reliable player on that team, who had the most impact on that team. And we kind of boiled it down to, KD or Steph. So I'm wondering, Justin, who do you think was more impactful to that Golden State dynasty? Was it Kevin Durant or was it Stephen Curry?
They're both great players. I mean, can't go wrong with picking either one here, but in my opinion, there's an obvious choice here, and I think it's Kevin Durant. I mean, Steph Curry is a good player, but he's more of a shooter offense. He's a great offensive player, but he's a liability on the defensive end. Kevin Durant is not. Kevin Durant is a very good defender. He's lengthy. He can poke the ball away, block shots at the rim. He just can do everything on the defensive end while contributing. He's a very good offensive player, so he's contributing a lot on the offensive end. Just look at his stats. He's putting up to over 25 points, shooting over 50% from the field. He's putting up 6 rebounds, 6 assists, over half a steal, over a block a game. He's just putting up good numbers. He's just been the all-around better player for that team. And
I disagree.
I mean, who won the Finals MVPs?
So
he was clearly more valuable in the finals. So that helped them get the MVP.
Were the Warriors able to win without Steph?
Yeah. Were the Warriors able to win without KD?
Without KD, I mean?
No, they weren't.
Did you forget 2015?
2015, what happened in 2019?
Yeah, KD was injured and Clay was injured. So it was pretty much just Steph running alone.
He couldn't win it.
Yeah, but he didn't have a team around him. I mean, obviously, when you're injured, when you put anybody in that Eastern Conference, they're going to beat Golden State in the final.
Kevin Durant, Steph Curry is a very good player, but Kevin Durant is on a whole nother level when it comes to skills. I mean, when Kevin Durant is healthy, he is a top 2 player in basketball. And when it comes to all-around basketball,
and Steph Curry's a top 5.
Top 2
when healthy. Yeah.
And Kevin Durant's top 2. Him and Kawhi Leonard are the 2 best all-around players in basketball.
I disagree. I think Kevin Durant's top 5, but I don't know.
When he was healthy during that time, he was a top 2 player. Him and Kawhi Leonard, no doubt about it. Maybe you could argue LeBron, but outside of that, those were definitely the top 3.
Well, Kevin Durant couldn't win without Steph Curry. He needed to join Steph Curry to win a ring.
Mm-hmm. So he also didn't have 2 other All-Stars on his team.
I got to give it to Steph. Steph would win without KD. You saw that in 2015. You saw it almost happen in 2019. Didn't do it in 2019 because the entire team was injured. They had so many injuries.
He had 2 injuries. 2 injuries.
Dude, whatever Eastern Conference team you put in that 2019 finals, they were going to win. Let's say the Sixers won, which I wish they did, and I wish that nightmare never happened for the Sixers. Off topic, but I get nightmares every night about that shot. Had Kawhi missed that shot and had the Sixers won in overtime in that Game 7, the Sixers would have went to the finals, beat Milwaukee, and beat Golden State because of how injured they are. That goes for any team in the Eastern Conference, whether it was Toronto or whether it was Philly or whether it was Boston or anybody.
If you take Steph out of the situation, those couple years, they still would have won championships.
No, they wouldn't
If you take KD out, they wouldn't have won any of them. Guarantee it. Kevin Durant was the Finals MVP. He was the one contributing the most. He averaged 35 points in the Finals. 35.
Okay, but look at Steph's numbers in the finals. He did phenomenal.
They were not 35 points per game while contributing on the defensive end.
Are points everything?
Kevin Durant, go back and look at Steph Curry's stats. Steph Curry was literally only averaging five assists when Kevin Durant was there. He averaged 6 assists, 5 assists, 6 assists. Like, his numbers were drastically down compared to the over 6.5 he was averaging before. He was averaging 8, 8.5, almost 8 again with 7.7.
Well,
then he was averaging 6.7. I mean, look at those numbers. They went down when Kevin Durant was there because Kevin Durant came in. Kevin Durant's a better player. They gave him the ball more. He was more valuable to that team.
Well, if you want to talk about scoring, I mean, in the 2015-16 season, Steph Curry won the scoring champ, and Kevin Durant wasn't there. I guess they put up enough points without KD.
Kevin Durant won the Finals MVPs for them while they when they was on their runs. He had
Andre Iguodala won a Finals MVP over Steph Curry. You're going to tell me Andre Iguodala is more valuable to Golden State?
He was more valuable that series than Steph Curry was. He absolutely was. He shut down his opposing team. His defense was insane that series while putting up good offense.
But the best defense is good offense.
Can't do.
And Steph Curry provides good offense. Yes, he can.
You just said the best defense provides the
best defense is good offense.
And Steph can't play defense. He's one of the worst defenders in the league.
No, I'm saying the good offense defends you from losing, which Steph Curry does by giving you amazing scoring. He can shoot, he can drive, he can pass the ball. He's an amazing playmaker. He's been in Golden State his whole career.
Offense, you read that quote wrong. The quote is the best offense is a good defense. That's the quote.
No, but the quote can go either way. That's a debate. The best defense is good offense, or the best offense is good defense.
No, that's not how it works. I mean, good defense means you don't need to score as many points. You read that totally wrong. Kevin Durant is the Finals MVPs throughout those years. He has better stats, and he's undoubtedly the more skilled player on both ends of the court.
Why couldn't he win?
He's just the better player. He's just the better player.
And why couldn't he win?
Because he was going up a team. He was playing with a ball hog point guard, and he was playing a team with 3 All-Stars. 3 All-Stars. He was basically on his own. He couldn't take down 3 guys.
But he needed to join Steph.
Switch those teams around, and the Thunder don't have a lead in that series. If Steph was playing on that Thunder team and KD was on that Warriors team, the Thunder might win 1 game.
Yeah, because you're switching out for a team that already has a star point guard. Why would you want to put 2 star point guards on the team?
Kevin Durant is 100% more valuable, and there's nothing you can do to change my mind.
Well, we want you to know. We want to know your thoughts about this. Who do you think was more valuable in that Golden State dynasty? I personally think it's Steph. Justin obviously thinks it's KD. We want to know your thoughts. So leave them in the comments. Let us know. But we're going to move on. So obviously this decade is wrapped up. It's now 2020. So we are going to kind of go over who we think the best players of the 2010s are. So we're going to go by each position and make an all-decade team. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. It's by position. So you can't have like Kawhi, KD, and LeBron because that's obvious, and we wouldn't really have a talking point if we were just sitting here saying that we agree that Kawhi, KD, and LeBron, which I'm sure.
I don't think Kawhi could even make the all-decade team.
Anyway. I think he could. I mean, he's got. I mean, 2014.
I mean, he hasn't been contributing enough.
I mean,
throughout the whole decade. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, but like for what he did this decade, it was phenomenal.
It was incredible, but it wasn't long enough. He didn't have the longevity of it.
Yeah, the longevity, I could see where you're coming from, but I mean, he had 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 2 rings. I mean, he had a pretty phenomenal.
But when he's going up against guys like LeBron and Kevin Durant through that decade, there's just no way you can put him over the 2 of them. No chance.
I could see you. So who do you have going by position for your all-decade team?
Okay, so first I have Russell Westbrook at point guard, 8 All-Stars, 8 All-NBA teams. Basically 24 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 9 assists, very good stats. I mean, he was dominant from the beginning of the decade to the end. He was a very good player. I can see the argument for Steph Curry. I prefer Westbrook's all-around play better. That's just my opinion, but I don't think it's really
stat patter.
Stat padding or not.
That's something in my throat. Stat patter. It's funny.
Next, my shooting guard's James Harden. James Harden had 7 All-Stars, 6 All-NBAs, 25.5 points per game, over 5 rebounds, and 6.5 assists. Just a phenomenal appearance
I
throughout the
didn't say the
decade. He
all.
started out as a sixth man, went all the way up to a good contributor in the starting lineup, to a star in the league, then to an MVP. He has just developed throughout the decade. It's been fun to watch. He's changed basketball together. Certainly has to be on your all-decade team. He's arguably, him and Kevin Durant are the 2 best all-around offensive players in basketball.
Is this your all-decade team or your all-stat padding team?
Yeah, I mean, hey, they get good stats. They win basketball games. That's all that matters.
About choking in the playoffs too, but we'll get into
Next,
the
I
next
have
topic.
Kevin Durant, small forward, 28 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 10 All-Stars, 9 All-NBAs, lots of rings. He's been dominant. He got the Finals MVPs, like I talked about earlier. He's just been a very good player. He has to be on there. Then power forward, obviously the best player of the decade, LeBron James, 10 All-Stars, 10 All-NBAs, 27 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists. Just an all-around great performance this decade by LeBron.
Absolutely.
And then, I mean, there's really no other option here at center. You have to go with Anthony Davis. He's been dominant. He's been really the only center that's been dominant throughout the whole entire decade. He's got 6 All-Stars, 3 All-NBAs, 24, basically 24 points per game, over 10 rebounds per game. And he averages a couple assists, about 2.5 assists. He's just been a phenomenal player on the offensive and defensive end throughout the decade.
No, I don't hate that list except for point guard and shooting guard. So I agree with you for 3 out of the 5. So I'm going to start at center and work my way up, since I agree with you from the way up. So at center, I have AD for the same reasons that you have. I was on the fence. I was kind of contemplating DeMarcus Cousins because for a while in the 2010s he was the best center in the league. But you look at Anthony Davis, his 3 All-NBA team appearances, his 3 All-Defensive team appearances, All-Rookie team, three-time block champion, 24, 10, and 2. I had to give it to AD. Power forward, LeBron, just like you said, 2 MVPs, 3 rings. I don't need to go into it. You know how the king does it. Yep. Small forward, I have KD, won an MVP, back-to-back champ, back-to-back finals MVP, 9-time All-NBA team, But here's where you might disagree. At shooting guard, I'm going to go with Kobe Bean. Now, hear me out.
No.
He won a ring in 2010. He made the All-NBA first team every year from 2010 to 2013. He's a 3-time All-Defensive player, averaged 24.7 points a game, 5.1 rebounds and 4.8 assists per game during the decade that he played, and he capped it off by dropping a 60-point game in his final game. So
yeah,
I had to give it to Kobe, and he's not a stat padder like James Harden, and he doesn't choke in the playoffs.
He's exactly a stat padder and a ball hog. I mean, Kobe Bryant.
But he's actually able to win, unlike James Harden.
He's also had a better team. He had much better teammates. If he had a player Shaq's level on his team, James Harden would have won a championship.
I'm talking about the 2010 team. I mean, he had Pau Gasol and Metta World Peace, but
I know. I'm just saying, look, Kobe's a good player, but this is the 2010 to 2020 team, not the 2010 to 2015 team.
I'm aware.
You can't. A dude that's played not even half the decade is. You can't. No.
I got to give it to Kobe for what he did. What he did this decade. I think he did.
He did not play this decade. He played about a quarter of the decade. I mean, he was hurt half this time too. So
well, yeah, but for what he accomplished in just that short amount of time, I had to give it to him.
No.
And I think I think honestly, winning the ring without another like all-star on the team. I mean, you had Pau Gasol, you had Metta World Peace, but I mean, but they weren't like another superstar. For winning a ring with that team, James Harden didn't do that. So
it's 1 year. You can't.
I got to give it to Kobe by
1 year when you're doing an all-decade team.
Kobe's getting it by this much. Kobe's getting it by this much. By this much. And at point guard, I got to give it to the greatest shooter in NBA history. I got to give it to Steph. He's a 2-time MVP and a unanimous MVP, and that's never been done in NBA history. A 6-time All-Star, 2015-16 scoring champ, 6-time All-NBA team, 3-time champ, 2009, 2010 All-Rookie team. I got to give it to Steph. over Russell
I don't
Westbrook in
disagree with
this.
that. I mean, I think Russell Westbrook and him were both very good players. The only one of your picks I really disagree with is the Kobe Bryant one. I
And
think the Steph
I know.
one's okay, but the Kobe Bryant one's just blasphemous. No way that Kobe should be in an all-decade team.
Yeah, and I kind of figured that you would say that, but I think just for what he did in the short amount of time, there's a huge amount of respect for that, so I got to give it to Kobe Bean.
Okay.
So, you know, I like your list except with Russ and Harden. I agree with you for 60% of it. You agree with mine for 60% of it. So, you know, I think we can all agree that, you know, KD and LeBron should be there, and whether it should be Steph or Russ is you know, up to you to decide. We want to know what you guys think. Who's the greatest point guard of this decade? Was it Russ? Was it Steph? Was it somebody else? Let us know. So if you've been watching us, we always talk about James Harden. I had somebody tell me yesterday, my good friend Sean, shout out to my guy Sean. He kept telling me, you guys always talk about James Harden, and you always rant about James Harden, and you always argue about James Harden. Now, Justin here is a James Harden super fan.
The beard,
Hey, get
the
that
man,
disgust,
James
burn
Harden,
that, burn it, burn that shirt, burn it.
the GOAT.
Stat patter, that's what it says on the back.
Nope. He's
That's what
changing
it
the
says
game.
on the back.
Changing the game, James Harden.
So, like I said, if you've been following us, you know, you probably assume that I can't stand James Harden. Nothing personal. I just hate the way he plays. You know, that's nothing personal. Can't stand him. Justin obviously loves him. He's a super fan for him.
He's changing the game.
And we go back and forth. We've been going back and forth for months, right? I mean, months about, you know, how we both feel about James
It's been
Harden.
years.
So I want to tell you this, Justin. I'm going to tell you right now, this is our next segment. I'm going to explain to you right now that James Harden is the biggest choker in the NBA, and I can't stand it. And I'll explain why.
Explain why.
I'm going to go year by year. Okay, so we started out with 2012. Sure, he's not on the level that he is today, but he choked in 2012. There's no denying that. I mean, even though he was just the sixth man, he still choked. Now let's go to 2013 in the first round against OKC. Russell Westbrook was out. Harden shot 7 for 22, and get this, it was in his own arena. How do you shoot 7 for 22 in your own basketball court? That's ridiculous. 2014, first round, game six in the last 18 minutes.
Wait, hold on. Where are you talking? What game are you talking about, series?
2013, first round against OKC.
Yeah, what game? What game are you talking?
I don't have the game, but I know Westbrook was out, and I know Harden had – I forget which game it was off the top of my head.
Would you like me to go through that series? Because Rockets facing elimination, game 4 in the season. Harden had a game-high 5 steals in addition to a defensive rating of 102 points allowed per 100 possessions, which was a game-high. And in the following game, game 5, the Rockets were facing elimination again, down 3-1. Harden dropped 31 points, which was second best in the game behind Kevin Durant. And James Harden had 7 3-point field goals, which was the most on both teams, as he led the Rockets to a 107-100 series-saving win. So back-to-back elimination games there, he contributed very well.
All right. Well, let's go to next year, 2014, first round in game 6. In the last 18 minutes, Harden had an amazing stat line of 2 points, 0 assists, and 0 free throws made. We go into next year in 2015.
Okay,
in the second round against Let me go through the list. Just let me go through the list. Let me go through the list. I'll let you talk. In 2015, in the second round against OKC, get this: Harden had an amazing accolade this series. You want to know what it was? The most turnovers in a playoff game in NBA history. That was in Game 5 of the 2015 semifinals against Golden State. 2016, choked again. 2017, lost to the Spurs by 39 at home in Game 6. He had 3 times as many turnovers as he did made field goals.
I will give you the Spurs series. The Spurs series, he did choke, but I mean, who doesn't choke at least one series in their career?
Well, it's not that.
I'll give you the Spurs series. The Spurs series was a choke. But the Spurs series was 100% a choke by him. That was his one series he did actually choke, and I will 100% give you that.
I respect.
That was bad.
I respect you for.
But I mean, everyone chokes one series.
I respect you for owning up to that. 2018, but he did the same thing next year. 2018 blew a 3-2 lead in the Western Conference Finals, and in 2019 got obliterated by Golden State again. Golden State dominates James Harden, and James Harden cannot seem to stop choking. Get the man a glass of water. He's
It's a shame when
choking.
he's one on.
Somebody
He's
give
one
him the
on 4 when it
Heimlich.
comes
Does
to
any
All-Stars in that
Rockets
series.
do any Rockets fans know the Heimlich? Because your main guy keeps choking. Look
All
at him.
right, let's go back here. It's my turn here. So let's go back through all these series again. The 2014 playoffs against the Trailblazers here, right? Harden finished with 26.8 points per game that series. So he put up the points. He was second behind DeMarcus Aldridge. So if he's putting up those points, is it really his fault or is it teammates for not being able to do anything? I mean,
What about the last
here.
18 minutes of that game?
Hold on, wait. So the Rockets found themselves facing elimination going into Game 5, right? They were down 1-3 at 3-1 after the first 4 games. Harden had 7 assists, which was tied for the most of any player in that game. And Harden had 3 steals, which led all Rockets. More importantly, Harden's 8 of the Rockets'
That
final
doesn't
10
mean
points
anything.
to close out that game. Yeah,
but that doesn't mean anything. That means nothing.
How is
that
he
means
choking?
absolutely nothing.
Choking.
If he did not win. Because in the last 18 minutes of that game, he had 2 points, 0 assists, and 0 free throws made. He choked. 18 minutes and you dropped 2 points? And you want to call him the greatest scorer of the decade?
He is the greatest scorer of this decade. Maybe
you call him the greatest scorer of the decade, but I can't call him absolutely amazing and say that he's
the Rockets. Okay, hold on, wait. The Rockets were able to advance to then Game 6, but were ultimately defeated only because of Damian Lillard's walk-off three-pointer in the warning seconds of the game here. I mean, Harden had 34 points and 4 steals.
What about
and
his stat line?
It's a good stat line. You're going to tell me a guy that puts
2 points is a good stat line? 0
he had
assists?
34 points and 4 steals that game. 34 points and 4 steals. If LeBron
James
put up that record, you wouldn't be saying he's choking. Kawhi Leonard puts that up. You're not saying he's choking. Let's go to 2015, right? 2015. Now,
most turnovers in play.
Hold on. The Rockets were down 3-1 once again going into Game 5, but Harden helped the Rockets climb out of that hole. Harden posted a triple-double in Game 5. He had 26 points, 10 assists, and 11 rebounds. And then in Game 6, Game 6 was another elimination game as the Rockets were down 3-2. Harden struggled to find a shot, but he still led the team with 23 points, and he found other ways to contributing. He got to the free throw line, 11 for 11.
And what happened?
Tied the Rockets for team lead in steals. I mean, it was Harden's worst game, but he still was able to put up points.
Sure, okay. Who cares that he was able to put up points? He had the most turnovers in a playoff game in NBA history.
No. Listen to me.
Come on.
I'm not talking conference
finals.
I know you.
I know you're not that crazy.
No. I'm not. Listen, this is the Western Conference semifinals versus the Clippers. They were down 3-1.
Who cares about the semifinals?
Because it's still important. It's still a playoff series. You're saying he
show up when it mattered.
He was down. His team was down 3-1. He ended up leading him back. Game 7 of the series, Harden led all players with 31 points and 8 assists. 31 points and 8 assists, which was second only to Chris Paul. Harden struggled with his jump shot, but he still put up the points.
How many of those were free throws?
And the Rockets advanced to the Western Conference Finals against the Golden State Warriors. He led a team back from 3-1. Why does nobody talk about that? Everyone talks about LeBron leading a team back from 3-1. Nobody mentions Harden was able to do it. They only mention
because LeBron did it in the finals to win a championship for a team that was in a 50-year drought.
Exactly, but
James Harden will never get to that point, and the only way he got to that point was by having Russ and KD carry him when he was a sixth man in OKC.
You were right though about the conference finals that season. He wasn't that great, but I mean, Harden still produced in that series. Klay Thompson, one of the best defenders in the league, struggled to guard him. First game, 28 points.
Yeah, you can struggle to guard him when
points.
He travels and the refs don't call it, and when he
doesn't travel.
Drawing fouls. That's a travel.
Hold on. No, the NBA rulebook says there's a gather step. He doesn't travel. It is a gather step. He's playing by the rules. He's literally
but if you do that in any other league besides the NBA, they'll call that a travel.
So yeah, sure. But he's following the NBA. He's following the NBA. What's wrong with that? He's following the rules. People are hating him for bending the rules.
He's taking advantage of the rules.
No. And let's move on to 2016 here. Golden State Warriors, right? The Rockets had an okay year that year. Game 1, Harden shot 60% from downtown. Second game leading scorer.
You're not telling me anything.
Game 2 dropped 28 points. Game 3, 35 points. With the Rockets facing elimination then, Harden had 35 points, which wasn't enough.
But it's irrelevant because of what he did when it mattered.
Harden dropped 26 points and 7 assists. He didn't choke that series away. He played well. His teammates were terrible. It's not his fault his teammates didn't show up.
But he didn't show up either.
He did. He averaged 26 points and 7.5 assists that series.
Yeah, but you're telling me all the stuff he did in Game 1 and Game 2. I don't care. That's not a Game 6. That's not a Game 5, 6, or 7.
It only went 5 games because his teammates didn't show up.
He doesn't show up either. The entire Houston Rockets team doesn't show up.
I'm giving you throughout the series his stats, and he's putting up numbers the whole time. His teammates aren't showing up for him. He dominated that series against the Clippers, dominated that series, and had to bring his team back from a 3-1 deficit. I mean, that's very good.
But he can never get to the. My main thing with James Harden
he's
is
by
that
himself. He doesn't have a second star. He hasn't had a second star.
he has
Till
Chris
this
Paul.
season.
He had Dwight Howard, who was
Chris
pretty
Paul
decent.
is not a second star, and that is not true.
He's always had a good team around him. That Rockets team always makes the playoffs. They have decent teams around them. They had. I remember Jeremy Lin when he was still pretty decent. I remember Chandler Parsons when he was pretty decent. You had Dwight Howard. I mean,
that was not a good team.
He had a good team around him.
That was not a good team. That you're giving me old players. That's not a good team.
Yeah, but I'm giving you players that were decent at the time.
No,
they weren't. Here's my
time.
main thing with James Harden. I do not think that James Harden has the winning mentality, and I don't think he will ever win a ring.
He does.
I don't think he will ever win a ring because he doesn't care about his team. He doesn't care about how his team does. He just cares about getting his triple doubles. He cares about getting his 40 points a game, and that's it. That's all he cares about. So burn that shirt or put a piece of duct tape over it and write stat pattern and choker on it.
2017, right? Here we go. James Harden. 2017 season, right? James Harden, game 3, 44 points, shot 18 of 18 from the free throw line, which were both game highs. Harden scored the final 10 points of the fourth quarter, but how's that his fault? OKC took home the win because his teammates let him down once again. Then, after that series, the Rockets advanced to play the Spurs in the Western Conference semifinals.
And look at what happened in 2017.
This was when he choked. I will give him that. But he didn't really even choke. It wasn't his fault.
But he did choke. Three times as many turnovers as you had in field goals.
He still put up 25 points and 10 assists.
Who cares? Who cares? He had more turnovers than made field goals. Who gives a crap for how many points he put up? Nobody cares. Look at the turnovers.
All right,
who cares about the points?
2018.
Nobody cares.
He's beating the dominant Warriors team. He's beating them, right? He's actually beating them. And at this point, it's really not his fault. I mean,
it was the okay. I'll say it wasn't just James Harden. I will say it was the entire Rockets team because that team had 27 missed 3-pointer. They went 0 for 27 from 3. That was the entire team. But James Harden had something to do with it.
But if Chris Paul was healthy that series, they would have won. They would have won and been in a championship.
I agree, 100%. But I will agree 100%. With that. But that didn't have anything to do with James Harden.
That series still, Harden put up 29 points and 6 assists, which was second in the series. So I still don't understand how you can not like this guy. He's putting up good points, and now
because he had something to do with that 0 for 27 3-pointers.
He did, but it wasn't entirely his fault.
But he's like the number one guy. So shouldn't he show up when it matters?
Can I just bring up the Kawhi versus the Warriors versus Harden, right? Harden put up 34.8 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. And KD missed one game this series, and he shot 44% from the field. Rockets lost in 6 games in the Western Conference semifinals, right? And people say he didn't show up. Meanwhile, you get Kawhi out here. Kawhi put up only 28.5 points, which is less than Harden.
Only 28.5 points?
You're not going to be amazed at Harden's 35?
Because a third of them were free throws. Kawhi actually gets his buckets legit.
No, he doesn't. He's one of the most fouled players in the NBA. You've seen it. He's up there at the top 5.
Just who's number
Harden
1?
And Giannis. They're the same type thing. Harden shot better than him up from the field. Harden shot 44% compared to Kawhi's 43%. KD only played 11 minutes this series. Clay missed all 63 and tore his ACL, and the Raps defeated the Dubs in 6 games. Harden put up better stats. And he gets called out for didn't show up. But Kawhi's considered the GOAT for dethroning them, even though he didn't have the same stat line how James Harden did.
But here's the thing. Who gets to the big dance, Kawhi or James Harden?
Kawhi didn't play in the Western Conference. If Kawhi would have went up against,
but he played. He had a pretty hard road to the. He had a pretty hard road to the finals in the Eastern Conference, and he did play in the Western Conference when he was with San Antonio.
And how many championships he won?
1.
Only 1, and that was because it was before the Warriors' pure dominancy.
Yeah, but you still had that Miami super team with Chris Bosh and D Wade and Braun.
Yeah, he didn't win any against the Warriors super team though, just like Harden didn't. Harden didn't choke. He put up good numbers. It's not his fault. It's his teammates' fault. He didn't have the other stars around him. When Curry has a bad game, Curry has KD, he has Klay Thompson, he has other guys to bail him out. Who does Harden have? Harden doesn't have anybody. Harden is unfairly criticized.
We have to move on. Again, let me know what you think. Let us know. That tired me out. I'm not gonna lie. That debate. I'm actually sweating. I would be lying if I told you I wasn't sweating. And it's cold. Like, this room is cold. This gets me worked up. But we're gonna move on to another topic. Since we're talking about players being overrated and things like that, we want to talk about a guy named Luka Doncic, who I think is tremendous. Justin does not seem to think so. And he literally said this right before, we got on and started recording. Justin, do you think Luka Doncic is overrated?
100%. He's totally overrated.
Why?
I'll give you 5 reasons. First off, he is one of the most inefficient players in the NBA. He may have a dazzling step back here and there that makes him look good. You know what he's shooting from 3-point range?
What's he shooting?
31%. 31. Out of the 149 qualified players this season, that ranks 141. That means there's only 8 players worse than him. Luka also attempts 9.13 threes per game, which is 7th in the league, and he only makes 2.9, which ranks 19th. That's not very good. He's misfired on 335 threes, which is 2nd most in the NBA. RJ Barrett, Rajon Rondo, and Ben Simmons all have better 3-point percentages this year. There's only 17 players this decade to match.
Wait. You're comparing somebody's 3-point percentage to Ben Simmons?
No, I'm not saying it's that, but the point I'm making is Barrett, Rondo, and especially Simmons get hammered with their criticism for bad shooting all the time. Where's Luka's criticism? He doesn't get any.
Yes,
he does not get any. No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
He's the NBA's golden boy. He's the golden boy
because he's so good.
He is not good.
His main thing isn't three. His main
inefficient.
But his main thing isn't 3-pointers.
Okay, he's a top 5 player. People are acting like he's going to go deep. Luka's not. Luka's a playoff virgin. He's not ready for it.
It's his second year.
He's too young. Okay, look at this. He's played 16 games against top 10 teams this year, right? He's averaging 27.5 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds, and 4.5 turnovers per game, shooting 42% from the field, and only 24% from 3 versus all other teams, which is 37 games. He's averaging 30 points, a little over 9 assists, and over 10 rebounds per game, while only having 4 turnovers, and he's shooting 47% and 35%. Clearly, he's taking advantage of the bad teams in the West by putting up great stat lines against a team like the Kings or, I don't know, the Suns are just terrible teams. But when it comes to playing top teams in the league, he's not good. He isn't putting up good numbers.
So you're saying
he's incredibly inefficient.
So you're saying a guy is overrated because he's not that good at shooting threes?
No, I'm not saying that. You haven't heard the whole debate. I'm giving you my reasons. That's not good.
But he has the 4th highest efficiency rating in the league. How can you say he's inconsistent?
I'm just kidding. Where are you getting 4th highest inefficient rating?
He has the 4th highest efficiency rating in the league.
He does not. I'm giving you his ratings right here.
Look it up.
He does not. Luka's also 3rd. Luka's a terrible defender. Luka does not know how to play defense at all. Bradley Beal and Trae Young put up 30-plus points per game, just like Luka, and they're both ranking in the top 4 in scoring. And they're not getting included in this MVP discussion because they can't play any defense. I mean, Giannis plays defense. Kawhi plays defense. Here. Yes, I mean, I will give you that. They're horrible defenders. Luka's defense isn't much better. Now, it is hard to compare stats, and I will say that. It's not like NBA stats defensively aren't that good, but like when Luka's on here's a good way to look at it. When Luka Doncic is on the court for Dallas, opponents average 3.4 improvement off of RTG compared to when he sits. That is an incredible amount. I mean, when you look at the plus minus, Luka had a minus 1.16 defensive minutes this season, and that puts Luka in the 13th percentile, which means he's 87% in the league is better than him when it comes to defense. That's not good. You think Kawhi's down there. Giannis is down there. LeBron's not down there. All these guys that you're putting him in the top 5 of the league. You're putting him up there. I mean, you said it earlier in our other show that how many points? You said you put him at 4 or 5? Where do you put him?
I put him as
Fourth,
high. I
fifth?
think he's a top 5 player in the league.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, his defense is just terrible. You can't be putting him up there. And then
James Harden's defense is terrible, and you think he's a top 5 player in the league.
his defense is not terrible
It's
anymore.
pretty disgusting. He's very
It
lazy.
is very good.
He's lazy.
No, it is not. Now that he has a
All
second
right,
story, he's able to play defense.
we're done talking about James Harden.
Number 4, Luka doesn't carry his team. I mean, everyone acts like he carries his team, but he does not. Dallas's success this year is more on Kristaps Porzingis and Tim Hardaway. I mean, they've been scoring at least 13 points per game. The only other winning team with fewer scorers are the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, he's consistently putting up good numbers. And when Luka missed games, the Mavericks still played extremely well. They were almost playing better without him than they were with him. They took down the Bucks on the road without him. That only occurred 3 times this year, and they were able to do it without him. They didn't even need him. And it's just he's not making the big impact. I mean, he's putting up the nice numbers, but when you actually dig into them, he is not as good as it seems. And
but here's the thing, at 21 years old or 22, I'm not sure exactly, at 21, I believe, for a 21-year-old to be averaging 28.7 points a game, 9.3 rebounds a game, and 8.7 assists, that's to be 6th in points, 4th in assists, and have the 4th highest efficiency rating. That's very impressive.
Oh, I agree, but when you dig into it, he has a lot of holes in his game still.
Well, if you dig into any player, if you go into any player that deep, obviously you're going to find flaws. You can't just nitpick.
You're putting him in. People are putting him in MVP conversation, and they're putting him in the top 5 player. He is not up there. He's horribly inefficient from 3. Takes a ton of threes despite it. He's never played in a playoff game before, so we don't even know what he's going to do. He doesn't play good in big games. He has very below average defense. And his team is good enough without him. If you take when Kawhi's out, the Clippers aren't as good. When Giannis is out, the Bucks don't win. When LeBron's out, the Lakers don't win. You're putting him up there with those guys. But when they miss games, their team doesn't win. But when Luka misses games, his team wins. Why is that? Because he's not that important to his team. He's good, great player, but he's not that important compared to the other guys.
But you have to realize too, he's also growing. He's still getting used to this NBA basketball. He's only played a year, and he hasn't even played a full 2 years.
I'm not. And I think I love Luka. He's a very good player, but he's just people are overrating him. People are putting him in he's probably a top 15. He's definitely a top 15 player, probably between 10 and 15. I wouldn't necessarily take top 10, but I mean, LeBron James, Giannis, Kawhi, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard. I'd even take Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Joel Embiid, Russell Westbrook, Jokic. I'd take all them over Luka, and
I wouldn't take Paul George over Luka. Paul George is having a terrible year.
That's
this
tough.
year. I wouldn't take Luka Doncic.
I'll give you that. Maybe this year, but I mean, I just gave you like 6-7 guys that if you ask most people, they're going to say yes. But when you look at the stats, it's not true. No way. I mean, Luka's a great player, and he has the potential to be an MVP next year if he can fix this. But he does not deserve to be in the MVP conversation this year. Absolutely not.
I don't think this year. No, that's not what I'm arguing. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's just right.
Well, if he's a top 5 player, then he should be in the MVP conversation because that's what top 5 players are.
Well, I think he still has a lot of room to grow.
So he's not a top 5 player right now. Then.
I think he is a top 5 player.
Well, you can't be going off potential, and
I think if the Mavericks, I think if the Mavericks were doing better, I think Luka would be would have a better case for the MVP conversation.
Doing better, they do better without him. They put up good numbers without him. They don't need him. They don't need him.
We got to move on.
You got Kristaps and the other guys putting up good numbers. They don't need him.
We got to move on. So we just talked about a guy who is overrated. Now we're going to get into who we think is underrated. Justin, obviously you think Luka's overrated. Who do you think is the most underrated player in the NBA?
Okay, so I have 2 players here that I think are underrated, but there's a difference. There's one player here I'm going to say my most overrated player has to be Nikola Vukovic. I mean, this guy is putting up consistently good numbers. He is very slept on. He's like he's basically a not as dominant version of a Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic, but he's still putting up good numbers. He's putting up 20 points, 11 rebounds, can get you 4 assists a game. He can shoot the three-pointer, 35% from three, and he shoots over 50% from the field. He's putting up good numbers. He's on the Magic, so nobody talks about him because nobody cares about the Orlando Magic. No offense to like Magic fans, but like nobody really cares about the Orlando Magic. So like when you think about it, like I know he's been named an All-Star here and there, but he's just very under talked about. Where if I think he was on, if you go put him on a playoff team, then I think he would be a star in this league. But since he's on the Orlando Magic, he's not. And then
why does
I wanted
Orlando
to say,
go ahead.
yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, side note, why does Orlando need a team? You know, like nobody when you go to Orlando, you know, you don't think, oh, well, I can't wait to go to the Magic game. You want to go to Disneyland. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Come on. Nobody cares about the Magic. I mean, sure, like they have Penny and Shaq, but like Seattle can't have their team, but Orlando can. Nobody says, "Hey kids, let's go to the Magic game." Oh, they're like, "Hey kids, let's go meet Mickey Mouse." Nobody wants a autograph from Markelle Fultz. They want to autograph from Mickey Mouse. I don't know. Continue.
Yeah, I agree. And then my other one that I was going to say was he doesn't get talked about enough because he doesn't get the minutes he deserves. It's Mitchell Robinson from the New York Knicks. I love this kid. He has so much potential in this league. I mean, the guy's shooting 74% from the field. Tremendous. That is incredible. He is on pace to break the record. He's putting up in very limited minutes. He's putting up 9 points and 7 rebounds, which is good numbers. And he's averaging over 2 blocks a game, which is fantastic. If he got the minutes, I think he'd be a star in this league.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You know, Mitchell Robinson does put up good numbers. He does get the ball a lot in New York, but I always have a problem with, you know, saying guys are underrated or saying that guys are good if they like just started and they're on such a atrocious team like the Knicks. Like, you know, obviously you're a Sixers fan, you know, you remember Michael Carter Williams. You remember his rookie year in the 2013-14 season, you know, had an amazing rookie year, won Rookie of the Year that year, had, I think it was the greatest rookie debut in NBA history.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it topped because he almost had a quadruple double. But like, but the Sixers ended up trading him because that was still like, you know, the process years. And if you remember when he went to Milwaukee, he sucked and he can barely fit a roster now. I mean, he's found a good spot in Orlando. But, you know, so that's the thing when you have guys like Mitchell Robinson, you know, he plays for such a dumpster fire in New York. So I think.
But there's a difference. Michael Carter Williams was on a dumpster fire team, and he had an incredibly high usage rate and was playing a ton of minutes, which is why he put up those good stats. A guy like Mitchell Robinson is a guy on a bad team. He's on a bad team, like you said, but he should be getting more minutes. He's not getting minutes, and his usage rate isn't higher. And if it was higher, he'd be putting up better numbers. I'm taking a guy here that has just okay numbers because he doesn't play a lot. And you're taking a guy that had great numbers and had a high minutes rate and a high usage rate. It's a totally different situation.
No, yeah, but, you know, I always get –
No, but you're right. Young players like that are – I understand where you're coming from, but that shouldn't apply to Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah. Well, like, I'm kind of contradicting myself because my pick for the most underrated player in the NBA is DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's kind of contradicting what you just said.
Yeah, I know it's ironic, and I kind of sound like an idiot for saying this, but, like, you know, I mean, he averages 19 points a game, 12 rebounds, and almost 2 assists, and he barely gets the ball in Phoenix. So I think DeAndre Ayton, when his rookie contract is up, should get the hell out of Phoenix and go on a team that will actually give him minutes. Because you look at – he already plays, I believe, like 30 minutes for Phoenix. He already puts up
33 minutes. Exactly.
33 minutes a game, yeah. I didn't know the exact number, but if he's putting up these numbers, averaging a double-double, imagine what he can do with a team that can actually give him the ball. He'll be tremendous.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be getting the ball on a good team.
But I'm saying, like, you know, like a rebuild, like if you have a rebuilding team and you start to build around a guy like DeAndre Ayton, I think he has the potential to be a top 15 center in the NBA.
it's been a limited sample size. I'm not sure yet. He got suspended for what was it? Drug usage, right? Wasn't
I
it
believe
drugs
so.
or
PEDs
performance
or something
enhancing
like that.
drugs? So that's risky there. I don't know how much of an impact that has had on his game. I mean, obviously he's performed well without him, but or at least so we think he's not using him. But we'll see. I don't know. That's a good pick. He is underrated. He's very slept on. But I mean, like you mentioned earlier, he's on a young, underperforming team, getting a lot of minutes. So like on a contributing team, would he still be getting those minutes?
Who knows? Honestly, who knows? Who knows with Mitchell Robinson? Who knows with DeAndre Ayton? That's the thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, great discussion today. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to wrap up this episode here. We appreciate you guys watching, even though or listening if you're on Spotify, because we do upload to YouTube and Spotify. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. Obviously it's kind of hard to, find things to talk about when there's no sports. I miss the NBA so much.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. But thank you guys for watching. Stay safe out there. Goodbye.